Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Walker, a great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So it is the day of Larry and Kelly's wedding, and obviously there's a lot. Obviously, for Cordell, he's doing the run again with Liam and Trey, and also Cassie this time. But obviously, the trail is the same trail they took when he got kidnapped at the end of last season. And now it's just like, obviously, it flashes back. I mean, it's been a tumultuous year for everyone, and especially Cordell. So, obviously, I think working on Larry and Kelly's wedding kind of meant a lot for him to be able to kind of focus on something outside of himself because he's been, having so much running through his mind. So, trying to focus on that, he wants to make everything perfect, I think is actually interesting because it's something that him and Jerry ended up talking about, how this wedding is like the first wedding they've been into a long time, and I can only assume she was kind of referencing his and Emily's wedding. It's probably the last wedding she went to, and so it's going to stir up a lot of emotions and stuff like that, because it's like, yeah, Larry and Kelly were able to, find each other again after all this time. It's like, how do you know? He even talks to Larry later on. It's like, how do you know, things were going to work out this time? It's like, Larry doesn't know for sure, but for him, it's like, I've wasted enough time and we found our way back to each other. I felt like this is the time. Like, I don't want to waste any more time. And it has gotten Cordell thinking, especially when it comes to the Jerry side of things, because they put that off for a long time, because obviously they haven't really figured out what they are post the Davidson situation. The Davidson stuff is the last time we really saw them kind of connecting, and they kind of went their separate ways. So they haven't really circled back to that conversation yet. So it is that thing of like, are we going to sit here wasting time? Because obviously it's something there. They still feel the way they do about each other. I was kind of scared that maybe something would. I mean, he hears about, Jesse, and finds out that Jesse's actually the boyfriend of Sadie's mom. But it's like, he was worried, like, what if something happened here? But, normally Cordell would have just probably been like, just kind of accepted it and moved along. But the growing he's going through, everything that they've gone through this year, he's decided, like, you know what, I'm gonna take this leap, I'm gonna take this chance, and tell her, like, he's like, I hope nothing's happening between you and Jesse. And she's like, no, there's nothing. He's like, good, because I mean, this is the episode where everyone's figuring out what their summers are going to be. Obviously Larry and Kelly are going on their honeymoon, so is Bonham and Abby. Jumping ahead a little bit because obviously this is at the end, but Jerry decides that she will stick around. It's like, right, we'll celebrate Sadie's birthday here. It'll be great, So Jerry's willing to stay behind, and they're willing to kind of give this situation between them another shot, Other than that, we had Stella saying that she is going to go to college. She's not going to leave to go to college. She's going to college like nearby, but she is going to get her own place. And which, Augie was kind of like, obviously him and Stella have kind of had their rough patch, especially this season, but even he was like, man, I was just kind of getting used to, obviously having you around. I initially was kind of like happy to see you leave, but I was kind of worried, but it's like, hey, she's still going to be around. So, which August is figuring himself out too, because he finally talks to Cordell about the military thing, and I figured it was going to be a complicated conversation, because for August, it's like, I've been so lost for a while, and, the military gave you structure, gave you focus, and pointed you in the right direction. I'm hoping it would do the same for me. Because it actually turns out he talked to Bonham first, so it seems like maybe he had that conversation with Bonham, but not Abby. So that's because last episode made me kind of have that. I didn't know based on that look whether or not. So Bonham probably didn't want to push the subject until August talked to. It's like, all right, so he didn't talk to Cordell about it. I'm not going to bring it up. But it's like, yeah, it kind of stings a little. It's like, right, you went to Bonham first before you went to me. But like, if I'm not mistaken, like, Bonham has military history. Yeah, he definitely has a military history too, so it makes sense. And so for Cordell, he's saying like, right, my situation with the military is different. It just is, because Cordell hasn't talked about to August yet. Because sadly, later on, he tells August like, hey, just enjoy your summer, finish up high school, and after that, you want to think about the Army situation. Then I will respect your decision. I won't be in your way. And sadly, August is talking to Stella and calls his dad a hypocrite. But it is because this season in particular, like, I think even before now, Cordell would have had an issue with it, but I think this season in particular, this journey he's been on, especially with all the gray flag stuff, the stuff with Coop, it made him have to face a lot of stuff from the past. And he had this complicated feelings about the military because, once again, he feels like how much of that was like me doing it for myself, and how much was, once again, what I did in my uniform in the military, what I do as a ranger, like how much of that is, because he's done so much for other people, how much is he actually taking time to do something for himself, making his future his own, rather than kind of putting it in the other hands of like other people to tell him what to do, where to go type of thing. So I think for him, it's like he has his complicated feelings about it, and I think he needs to sit down and talk to August about why he has the conflicted feelings he would. And once again, especially after last episode, of course he's going to have even more so complicated feelings that were already complicated to begin with about it. So he needs to sit down and tell August like why he has the feelings that he does about it, And just because the situation played out the way it did for Cordell doesn't mean it's going to play out exactly that same way for August. But it's still a conversation they need to have. You also have Trey figuring stuff out because Abby said, like, hey, I understand why Cassie's not going to bring a +1 because her last boyfriend, homicidal maniac. It's understandable why you wouldn't want to be immediately pulling the trigger on that situation. But it's like Trey was thinking about bringing Lana, but it's like she was part of that same homicidal anarchist group. So that's a little weird to bring her specifically to James and Kelly's wedding. But, Abby saying like, right, you've been through a lot this year, but, being a ranger has been good for you, and you've been able to navigate all the kind of rough patches that life has kind of thrown at you. So you deserve to do something good for yourself. Be with someone who is good for you. And you can see him staring at Cassie, which I talked about. I previously thought that's the direction that was ever going to always go, was kind of but I didn't know, because they are such good friends, but I didn't know if he'd be willing to go down that route again, especially considering, like, I mean, obviously him and Mickey had other complicated circumstances, but you'd be worried about it kind of a repeat in that regard, but also the circumstances are different. He's also a ranger too, so it changes the dynamic in itself, so. Either way, I think that really kind of hit a fever pitch, especially for them when, I believe Cassie found out about it from, was it Tessa? Is that her name? The FBI agent. It turns out, hey, the gray flag stuff, it's good. The case is solid. Everything's looking really good. But there's like a drug ring that they're planning on taking down, and they're trying to poach Walker and Cassie for it. Obviously, going off dealing with something like that would take him away from his family. Granted, Walker's in a very different situation than he was. He's a very different person. He's grown through all these experiences that have changed, and especially after everything, he's not the same person that left to do the Rodeo Kings situation when Emily died. But I think that's even more hesitation of why he probably like, nah, I kind of made that mistake before. I'd rather kind of stay here, be with my family, especially when everyone's figuring everything out. But for Cassie, it's like, yeah, it's something that she's thinking about, because even James is like, yo, it'd be good for your career, but I'd kind of miss having you around. But, if this is something you want to do, I got your back and I support you. Because for Cassie, it's like, also has started to finally feel like home after all of this. So she doesn't want to be so quick to leave it, even for like, even if it is just a summer, like, especially because it is a situation that she talks to Trey about later, that it might not just be the 8-week thing that, she was presenting it as. It could be even longer, because Tessa's trying to like poach her. I don't know whether that's, because she said like, because Trey had asked like, oh, you mean like for the FBI? She's like, no, not like that, but I guess like more, maybe more work like this going forward, kind of almost like, I don't know if it'd be like a full-blown liaison situation, but she'd probably cooperate with them a lot more going forward in like bigger operations like this. So once again, it'd be good for her career. But, Trey does talk to her about things have kind of worked out for him too in a big way because of her. And he even talks about the fact is that that's why their argument hit so hard. And she's like, well, it wasn't really an argument. It was just us telling each other some hard truths. And for him, it's like that speaks volumes about the fact is how much we care about each other. So they kind of don't really say anything, but they do look at each other and kind of laugh. It's like, yeah, let's go to the second location and party some more. And it's like, where things kind of go from there, we'll ultimately have to wait and see, because it ultimately comes down to whether or not Cassie does decide to take that drug ring assignment because she would be gone for a while, and obviously that time away can change things. I mean, because I'm sure there's also like, you also remember, well, before things and Mickey turned out the way they did, she went to an undercover operation. So it's like, just like Walker changed from the Rodeo King thing, so did she. And once again, that came with its complicated circumstances. So a lot of big steps for everyone to kind of figure out their futures and what directions they're going in. And I mean, but also I do love that the backdrop is this beautiful ceremony for Kelly and Larry. Because initially it's like, because of the weather, and they're kind of scared, like, okay, like we can't move the wedding because Larry and Kelly go on their honeymoon like the next day. It's already booked and everything, so it has to happen today. So Liam, along with calling in some favors and help all over the place, I love that they called in the feed guy that it's like, because even Abby was like, wait, doesn't he want to kill you? It's like, yeah, but I helped him with an issue with a vendor, and now he loves me, so he's willing to help out now. So it's like all of them working together were able to take that barn that was kind of a pretty rough situation, and they were able to make it into the beautiful venue it ended up being. It just ended up being a beautiful ceremony. Cordell's speech, and, I don't know, just once again, weddings are such a beautiful thing that I get sappy about, because I'm a sucker for a good love story, and romance and stuff like that. I'm always kind of like sucker for love and everything. So, and then obviously Cassie busting out the microphone, her and Kelly doing their thing, that was just added more of a beautiful tone to something that was already beautiful. And then you also add in the elements of, once again, complicated circumstances, kind of going from the complicated stuff to a beautiful thing and back to the complicated stuff. Walker gets called by Detective Luna, which that actor, obviously, he plays Callian on Walker Independence, which I did get the news earlier that Walker Independence did get canceled, which is such a bummer. It's almost that not surprising just because of everything at the CW, but that's a whole conversation which will be in another video. But I did see that, I was reading a quick something just now that was saying that Jared Padalecki is trying to find the show a new home. So I'm sure he probably made a deal with the CW where he has like a lot of those rights, so he can probably shop it other places. Probably has, I think, because of Walker and everything, and obviously Supernatural in general probably gave him a lot of like sway, and especially on like an executive producer level and stuff like that. But once again, that's a whole other conversation. But Detective Luna and Cordell go back, but they haven't talked in a while, and they talk about some guy that they know that died, and it's like, oh, how did he die? It's like natural causes. It's like fairly young to be dying of natural causes. And so Cordell asks about a very specific drug like a very specific thing being tested. It's like, oh, I guess this person might have had diabetes or whatever. It's like, did they have insulin in it? So making sure, like, I guess maybe something wasn't tampered with, and made sure, like, check to see if there was a very specific drug that was in their system. And it's like, what's this all about? We're not supposed to know the details about this, but he ends up talking to Larry about it, and he even says, like, I'm only telling you this, and maybe it's nothing, maybe it's me overreaching, maybe overthinking. I just wanted to let you know, because I didn't, like, after everything, like, I want there to be transparency, because Cordell has had a tendency, and obviously they've kind of kept secrets from him with the whole Trey being undercover thing. It's like, yeah, I just want a little more transparency between us, so I figured I'd tell you. But this is a complicated case for both Detective Luna, James, and Cordell, because Luna was like, I can't go down that road again, and both James and Luna seemed like they were in that same boat, especially for James, to show you how long ago this was. He was like, this case is me becoming obsessed with this case is why it kind of led to me and Kelly being in the situation we are in, like, what kind of led to us going our separate ways. So he wasn't so quick to, but Cordell ends up getting a call from Luna later on saying, like, yeah, this does seem like there was that drug found in this guy's system. So it turns out this all revolves around a serial killer. A case they were dealing with back in the day, someone called the Jackal. And so now that this person has died the same way, it's made Cordell think like they might be back. So at the time where all this great stuff is happening, Kelly and James, it's like, can't really call them right now. They're on a honeymoon, and Jerry's right beside them, kind of holding on to him, because it's like, okay, what does this mean? This is kind of shaking up Walker, because I think it's just one of those things of, this is one of the ones that got away, and probably it was a rough patch for all three of them when it came to this case. So I can only assume that would mean going forward, you probably get a little bit more of the actors playing Detective Luna. You probably see him a little bit more. He's even telling Cordell, like, hey, I'm going to, I could look into this more, and just, Cordell's just like, I'll call you back, because he's got to figure things out from his own perspective and just life and everything. So, but that's not where things end, because we had the opening of the episode, the cold opening to this episode began with someone like badly wounded. We didn't know what the circumstances were. Well, during the wedding, especially as the ceremony was winding down, we saw someone breaking up a place, and I immediately thinking like, well, they're after something specific and they want to make it seem like it was a random robbery, so they trashed the entire place, because by trashing the entire place you hide what you were really looking for. Well, it turns out the place they were trashing ended up being where Stella is staying, which immediately it's like, if I'm not mistaken, that's Jerry's place, isn't it? Isn't that Jerry's place that she's staying, or was it like... Yeah, because Colton and her... Not unless that was like... Yeah, I think, remember, like, Jerry was letting them stay at her place, so I was like, not unless it's something connected to Jerry, which could also tie into Sadie's circumstances, but either way, like, considering everything they've been through, of course, Stella would, like, tussle with the robber the way she did, and it led to a struggle with the gun, and they ended up shooting the person. And Stella wants to call like the police or whatever, because it's like, right, we need to get this person medical attention, but Sadie's like, we can't really do that. I mean, first and foremost, the person is the guy, was it Wilt or whatever, that they met at the party last episode. So they already set that up with the end stinger, but it's like, once again, why is he here? But now, like, Sadie's worried, they're like, we can't call anyone because both you and me have records of our own, so if we both call the police, that's going to lead to trouble for both of us. It's like, it's still like, we're trying to do the right thing, but I don't know. I was hoping Stella still wouldn't do that. It's like, well, who was she going to call? And I guess if she called her dad, she knew her dad was going to say, like, hey, let's handle this officially. But then Liam, I mean, that's going to be a complicated thing later on, especially because she went to Liam, and then Liam chained back with her to the crime scene. Turns out the body's gone. So either he got up on his own, or, well, we know at least one person that he's working with is that forest ranger. So I wonder if she actually, I mean, she had the vehicle and everything, so not less that job she took was just for that purpose, but maybe that's her real job, but she also has, like, it's kind of her, like, cover job, and her real thing is whatever their whole deal is, but the body is gone. So that's going to be a thing when they end up, like, informing Cordell about it. Not unless they're going to keep that a secret, but it's like, you need to tell Cordell, especially now this person is gone. They could potentially be a danger, so it's like, Cordell's probably going to be upset that it's like, right, you called Liam and not me, and, maybe if you had called me, we would have this situation resolved. The bad guy wouldn't be in the wind. We'd probably have some better understanding of what's going on. So, that, once again, like, Sadie bringing up, like, oh, she has her past and everything, but it still feels like there might be ulterior motives she has for not wanting to get the police involved. I have no idea. I don't know if because she was surprised to see him, so I was like, I don't know whether this ties into some criminal stuff that she's mixed up in. Once again, I brought this up last episode, like, Sadie ended up being their end to get towards Stella, but once again, why strike now and strike in this specific way where you're not expecting them to get back so soon? But also, did Sadie have anything to do with that? It doesn't seem like it. It's so interesting that it just happened. You have to be close to someone like Sadie, and then that just happens to lead you to the Walkers, and maybe it's not like you have a direct connection to the Walkers. Maybe it's just you see them as the perfect an opportunity for whatever you're trying to do. Who knows what that is? I mean, maybe they always knew who because Sadie had to find out on her own who her biological dad is, so maybe she ended up talking to this dude about it, and it's like, wait, I know who he was best friends with, he's tied to the Walkers, Hoyt and everything, so I don't know what to fully make of that. hell of a stinger to leave off the season with. So obviously that's going to be our main storyline going forward into the next season, plus filling in, like, what's happening with everyone else's summers, especially with this stacked on top of it. But Walker has been renewed for a 4th season. It is going to be a shorter 4th season. It's going to be a shorter season. It's only apparently going to be 13 episodes. Who knows? That's going to change in between now and then, because there's a lot to keep in mind. One, the writer's strike is happening currently, so that's going to be a contributing factor on that season coming out later. Plus, with everything going on at the CW, obviously new seasons for stuff is kind of like a big question mark in some regards, and especially in this case. But we are getting a 4th season, so there's that. But I am curious, is it going to be a decision between now and then? Will it be a decision of, hey, let's make this the final season? Stuff like that has to be, thought about too. And just because, once again, the CW is going through its changes. They're kind of revamping the channel going forward. I mean, they have been for a while since, like, new people kind of took over things. So, but at the very least, we have we're getting a 4th season. So beyond that, I mean, once again, that is also the thing you have to consider too. Some projects do get killed even when they have been renewed for a new season. We've seen that at least twice. 2 examples I can think of are Stomp Down. That was a pandemic thing, but still. And then there's also, there was this animated show on AMC Plus, Pantheon. That's kind of in that same boat. So it literally, AMC just canned the 2nd season. I think it was in production maybe, just because they didn't want to, I guess, spend the money on it. The channel, that network is trying to save money, I guess. I don't know. Either way, like, that's why I'm, like, still fingers crossed, hoping we do get the 4th season. Like I said, regardless of anything, it still would be a while before we get it, just because of everything going on currently. But once again, whether that be shifted over to a final season and everything, when the time comes, who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. So I'm excited to see where all this ultimately ends up taking us going into a 4th season. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.